Now, we finish off section 20 with these descriptions. So you'll notice in verse 46, you could just highlight the word priest's duty. And then in verse 53, the teacher's duty. And verse 57, the deacons. And so you're getting these descriptions of here's what you need to do. And then he outlines how the church is supposed to be organized into conferences. And in these earliest days, it was about every 3 months you need to gather together. And he talks about licenses and how to administer just the movement of the church. And then, if you jump down to verse 68...
Before you go there, can we just touch on one?
Please do.
With this priesthood and licenses and verse 65 and 66. Well, 65 in particular is really important. You know, there's a reason why every Sunday that we've done this at that Timmy has reached the ripe old age of 15. Timmy,
come up.
Timmy, come on. And Timmy comes up and the bishop has to be like,
pull him in.
Come close. And Timmy stands awkward and Timmy's proposed to be a priest. All in favor? And Timmy, raise your hand. Why do we do this? It's not to recognize Timmy's birthday. Okay, he's got plenty of opportunities for that. It's because our Constitution tells us to do that. In verse 65, no person is to be ordained to any office in this church without the vote of that church. Meaning, whoever administers to that congregation will have that person presented to them to sustain them. That is church functioning 101. Deacons, teachers, priests, elders, your bishop, high councilman, your stake president is presented to you at stake conference because he administers over the stake. General authorities at general conference. There is no such thing as a secret ordination in this church. Nobody gets secret authority. Nobody gets a secret special call to administer the ordinances and covenants of the church. From the very beginning, it's done in order. They are presented. They are sustained by the body. That's a crucial verse.
In public. So now, something that might be very relevant is verse 68. Mark it, the duty of the members after they are received by baptism. So you can go back into our Constitution from day one in the church. What is my responsibility once I become a baptized member of the Church of Jesus Christ, or as it's described here, Church of Christ? And by the way, I'll point this out now. We'll cover it again when we get to section 115 towards the end of the year. But you're going to see the church referred to by a variety of names. It's the Church of Jesus Christ. It's the Church of Christ, as it's described here in 68. Other places you're going to hear people referring to it as the Church of the Latter-day Saints.
Yeah, we go through a little period there where we forget Jesus.
We just kind of leave him out.
It's
and
the Church of
the Mormons
Saints.
And the Church of Latter-day Saints, or just LDS, period. You'll notice that it's not until 8 years and 20 days later that he finally puts his official name, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, on the organization. So they get this 8-year period to kind of figure things out. Yeah. And I think there's a beautiful symbolism there for our life, that we get an 8-year period where we're learning, we're growing, we're being taught, we're being brought along, and then at age 8, the name is officially put upon us, the Church of Jesus Christ. We take his name upon us collectively in an official way, and no more is it going to leave him out.
I like that.
Look at verse 70. He talks about if you have children, what is your responsibility? Then he gives you the description of baptism and the sacrament prayers. So notice earlier on, they were introduced as foundational pillars for the church. You could kind of look at verse 37 through 84. This may be taking it too far. I might be taking too much license here, but to me, I see 37 through 84 as the first official church handbook of instructions.
This is the earliest handbook of instructions.
He's giving them here's the how-to manual.
Here's your basics.
Of doing baptism, of doing your sacrament ordinances, of how to deal with transgressions that are of a serious nature.
And by the way, those things can change.
Yes.
This is important, as we've seen in the church today. But Tyler and I were looking before we turned the camera on, and in Oliver Cowdery's original articles, it says that the priests, before they, or the elders, before they offer the sacrament, not only are they to kneel, but remember what we read?
The whole congregation is supposed to kneel down.
To kneel with them. Now, we don't do that practice anymore, even though it was in Oliver's original articles, and that is later, that's not carried over. So even though this is the handbook can amend as circumstances and situations